Hi there, welcome to the More Civil Podcast. This is a podcast for Blacks, Asians, and those who love them. I am Mo, and I am your host, ready to spark your curiosity as I take you on this adventurous ride of exploring cultures through the stories of my guests from all over the world. On this show, we get really personal, discussing salient issues that are relevant to our contemporary age and also building community around them. As our guests exercise courage and vulnerability in sharing their life's experiences, we hope that in turn you are inspired by them and that you get the courage needed to set your own stories free. Enjoy the ride, and thank you so much for listening. Oh my goodness. Welcome back, guys, to the podcast. This is Mo. It's currently past midnight here today, and it's a day before a new episode is supposed to be released. But I'm staying up. One, I'm a night owl. That's not new. But two, this is a very important topic, and I want to explore it while it's still fresh, lest I forget. So for those joining us for the first time, you probably know what the topic is about. It's probably why you're tuning in for the first time. Welcome aboard. We talk more than just, issues like this. The podcast has a trove of other episodes that you might find interesting. So go check us out wherever you get your podcast on at the More Civil Podcast. Our website is also vibing really hard right now, www.mostcivil.com. All right, let's get to today's topic. For non-Nigerians listening to this, a lot of this might not be relevant to you. But I still implore you to finish it to the end. Perhaps you can find ways to lend some support, light and love variety to your Nigerian friends or those who might be visiting Nigeria. Or perhaps you want to visit Nigeria someday. My hope as a Nigerian living in the US is to get to a point where I can invite my friends, Korean friends, my American friends, to proudly come visit back Nigeria and, enjoy just to get to see that part of, my colorful personality and my zest for life and all that. I think that's very Nigerian. So yeah, so keep listening. All right, so today's topic really is how to get a Nigerian visa if you're based in the US. Now, I'm not calling myself an expert, but I believe that once you've overcome something, and believe you me, dealing with the Nigerian embassy or any of their representatives outside of Nigeria, actually even within Nigeria, causes, it's a good cause for testimony. So there's going to be a lot of testimonies and, dancing around the fire, holding our hands and doing kumbaya for this episode. So first things first, let's just ask the basic question. Why would you need a Nigerian visa? Well, for many reasons, actually. One could be if you are currently a Nigerian citizen and you hold a Nigerian passport that has expired and you want to visit home. Now, some can say you can use your US passport and get visa on arrival, but we know that's not very regular, and sometimes you might even get harassed at the port of entry. So to kind of fulfill all righteousness, you probably will need to get a Nigerian visa to be able to, enter the country. Another reason could be, say, perhaps you are married to a Nigerian and you, as a spouse of a Nigerian, would like to go visit Nigeria with your spouse. So that's when you will need to get a Nigerian visa. Or perhaps you want to invite your friend to go visit Nigeria. So we fell into one of those categories, right? And because I'm Nigerian, I know that if I'm going to go home, say, for example, in December, I have to make sure that I've gotten everything ready because the working principle here with anything Nigerian in the US is have no expectations. And once you can really lay that bar in fact, throw away the bar. There's no bar. There's no existing. Don't put any bar. Just, go with God and all of the host of angels, because you're going to be needing all of that and more dealing with the Nigerian authorities here. One of the things that actually really irked me was the lack of adequate information. It's really appalling to think that the Nigerian embassy here in the US, especially Atlanta, and I have a huge bone to pick with them, their websites, the information on there is very outdated. Heck, even the Nigerian embassy itself, like in DC, who's supposed to serve as the bigger one, they don't have a lot of updated information about securing a visa. And it's not even consistent across all those embassies, be it in New York, Atlanta, or DC. So that was really, really very, annoying to say the least. And if you're going online to like finding out what to do, what next step to take, before you know it, a week goes by and you're trying to call a number on the website, nobody's picking up the phone. So shame on them for that, really. But that said, I would like to actually give credit to whom credit is due. The DC one actually came through for us when we had to call, because Atlanta, forget about those people. I don't think they've picked their phone call in many years. But DC came through, and I remember the guy I spoke with. He was pleasantly nice. I was really shocked. I was like, wow. Is this I had to even ask, sorry, am I speaking to the Nigerian embassy? Like, I had to really ask that question because he was really polite, guys. Like, and I was like, wow. I mean, maybe changes is really happening. I know they've switched the ambassador or something like that recently. And if they can make those ripple effects, spread across this people in Atlanta, that'd be very much appreciated. So the gentleman I spoke with, and I'm sorry I don't remember his name, by the way, but he was really nice. And I called him on a Monday morning. So that's saying something, guys. He gave me the details. He was like, oh, you don't have to fly all the way. So for those that don't know, we live in Oklahoma, which is the Midwest, is, in the middle of nowhere. And having to fly to Atlanta or New York, DC, smack dab in the middle of a semester when I teach or in the middle of just life was going to be very cumbersome. So he goes, you don't have to fly all the way. You can actually use one of the centers around you. So he gave me the steps, and those were very helpful. So in the very next minute, I'll be sharing some of the tips that he gave to me. All right. So the first thing you have to do is go on a website called Innovate. And I'll put all the links in the resources. Now, Innovate one, I don't know who services it, but again, just guys, filling out those forms was very nerve-wracking. And the last time I felt distressed about filling any form like this was when I was applying for my JAM. So JAM, for those who are not familiar with, the Nigerian lingo, it stands for Joint Admission Matriculation Board. I think that's it. And when you're filling your JAM form, you have to be very, very careful. Or now they call it UTME, I forget the acronym for that. But anyways, you have to be very careful, because you miss a step or something, your results can be invalid. So that was how really nerve-wracking it was. And there were some redundant questions. Like, if you've said, for example, you haven't been anywhere as far as, you haven't traveled more than 5 years ago, there's so much information. Like, there should be like a paperwork reduction act associated with filling out these forms, guys, because, like I said, a lot of the questions were redundant. But again, this is Nigeria, so maybe we should be happy that we even have something like that, right? Now, Innovate actually links to the Nigerian Immigration Services. So they ask for you have to fill your profile name. Make sure you check the date of birth. It's written clearly, your gender, your country of origin, what visa category. Now, that's very important for you to choose the visa category you're going for. If you're coming for a tourist visa, a business visa, a single stay, multiple stay, and your processing information. Now, even if you might end up going to Houston or any of those OIS, and I'm going to talk about OIS in a bit, is you have to make sure you are choosing one of those three places, for your visa interview, the processing information. So we chose Atlanta because the OIS, which I'm going to talk about in a bit, was going to process our visa, through the visa we're applying for through Atlanta. So make sure you note that. Now, the application fee, as at the time of this recording, is $160, right? Let me tell you about that payment process. Hey, Jesus, have mercy. So, because the person we're helping to fill out the form and get their visa did not have a credit card, and we had to be the one to apply. I was applying for the person to help them get their visa. Now, because the name of that individual doesn't match my name, I had to, and I'm not joking about this, I had to register my card on Innovate. What does that mean? To register your card, your credit card, you According to them, it's done to minimize or prevent the fraudulent use of credit cards on that website. And I'm thinking, you are in the US. There are better, checks in the system that you can use to prevent, fraudulent use of credit cards. So you upload a scanned copy of your current credit or debit statement. Now, if your statement includes your credit card number in full, which usually does, depending on your bank, I have Chase in the upper left hand corner, and also make sure you're looking at the numbers that appear on the footer as like a random, like some digits that show like binary digits. Make sure you cross out the middle 8 digits of the card, leaving only the first 4 and the last 4 visible. So, credit cards have 16 numbers, right? And they are in increments of 4. So 4 of 4. So you're going to cross out the middle 4 digits. So the 2 middle 4 digits. So 5 to 8 and 8 to 12, leaving 1 through 4, and then 12 through 16. I think I said that right. And then your scanned copy must also include your name, the one you're scanning from your, so I use Chase. I just went on my statement and I downloaded it. It must include your name, your billing address, and the credit card number. But again, you're uploading that. And then you also have to upload a current legal government issued photo, such as your driver's license or your passport. And then you submit those to review. And then you're going to get a notification email confirming that your submission was successful or not. Now, I made a mistake whenever I was filling out the form. I didn't know that on the filled out form, I had put a wrong month as the expiration month. And so whenever I wanted to use my card, it wouldn't let me go, even though I had gotten an email 3 days later telling me that my application to register my card has been approved to go ahead and finish up my payments. Now, it stores your information in the cart. I think you have 30 days or so to kind of finish up your application. So I wanted to do that and it said, wrong month. And I realized, it should have been January, but I think I put September or, but whether it was the other way around. So I had to start another registration of my credit card again. It took an additional 3 business days for them to get back to me. So a whole week was wasted. Imagine if I needed this visa, urgently. That was just going to be a time wasting effort. So I want to just pause here for a little bit and just talk to the organizers of this website. There are better ways to do things. I get it. Yes, there've been fraudulent use of credit cards, but those issues are not just germane to Nigeria alone. I bet even the US Treasury, they have people trying to hack them every now and then and, using fraudulent credit cards and whatnot. So let's think about how we can apply existing technologies in a sophisticated country like the US to advance, our knowledge and not waste a lot of time. Okay? So that's number 1 beef with Innovate. So once you've registered your credit card, you successfully paid $160. The next thing you have to do, which wasn't anywhere, and I don't remember my gentleman dude from DC telling me this, was going to OIS. Now, a little bit about OIS. I'm not going to go into, who they are or what they're really about, but I bet whoever owns it, they're really raking a lot of money. So they are Dubai based and they really help with, I'm not sure if they're Dubai based, but anyways, what they really do is they serve as a liaison between the Nigerian Immigration Service and the citizens, like Nigerian citizens, in helping with, visa services, right? So, because I live in Oklahoma, right? And Oklahoma to Houston for me, and Houston is one of the services they offer in the US. I mean, Houston to me wasn't going to be a lot of, they have some offices in LA. I know they have an office in, Atlanta. They have an office in Houston. And I know they have one in DC and New York as well. So Houston was going to be closer than going all the way to Atlanta. Anyways, you go on OIS, you you set up your account, and then you go to appointments and make sure you select the city you want. As at the time of this recording, November, I'm checking their website right now. They don't have the earliest date they have for a visa interview. Is December 31st. And my bad, January 31st. That's like 2 months out. So forget about that. So once you do that, you select your time, and they have very limited times. You select the visa type you want, and then you select, if it's regular service you want. Usually it ends up being regular service, right? And then you click on next, and then it tells you those things you're supposed to bring. Now, guys, I'm not joking. Just copy and paste and create your checklist, because they will sit you down and go through your documents one by one. So let's run through that. You have to have a passport with a minimum of 6 months validity. What does that mean? Your passport must not be expiring, within 6 months. You must also take 2 recent passport size photographs, right? And that's very, very important for you to do, because they're going to need that. Now, you have to have your completed form that you've done through the immigration.gov. I think that was through Innovate. Remember, I talked about that. Oh, and another thing I forgot to mention about Innovate, the very first step is you can log in create an account using your existing Yahoo ID, or Google ID, or Open ID. Now, you also, if you're visiting Nigeria as a non-Nigeria, you have to make sure you get a letter of invitation from someone in Nigeria, and they provide, samples as well. You also have to make sure you're showing amount of money you have in your account that'll be sufficient for the stay, and they want your most recent one, so they last 30 or 60 days. Now, you also have to have 2 recent overnight envelopes with affixed stamps. Now, this one is no biggie. You have to just go to the USPS and get the Priority Mail Express. I cannot overemphasize that. It's a flat rate envelope, and they cost about, I think, 20 something bucks. So it ends up being about $52 for 2 envelopes. So they need 2 envelopes because one of the envelopes will be addressed from you to the Atlanta office if you are processing through the Atlanta office, and that would have all of your documents going to the Atlanta office. And then the second envelope will come back to you from the Atlanta office, addressed to you as a recipient. It will have your passport stamped with the visa, and then some of the supporting documents that you have sent with, the original applications and all that. So again, these are some of the things, you have to remember to do. So we've talked about, Innovate, we talked about OIS, Online Integrated System. Now let's talk about the interview date itself. I booked my interview sometime in August, and I got this October 20 something date. So I went to Houston. Our appointment was supposed to be by 12, but we caught an early flight from Oklahoma to Houston, which was going to be like an hour and a half. And we got to Houston, quite early, like around 9, thereabouts. By the time we went to our friend's house, what's up, Joanna, by the way? She was our hostess with the mostess. It was raining that day, guys. Like it was a tornado watch. I was living in Oklahoma where we had a tornado, and going to Houston when we had a tornado. But hey, it ended up being okay. So we got there like around 11:20. I mean, I have a lot of things about Houston. That place, my goodness, it takes about 40 minutes to like an hour to get anywhere. I'm going to rant about that sometime in the future. But hey, I'm used to living in Oklahoma now. I call myself like I live in the boondocks, so traffic is like to me. So we got to the place. It's on Bissonnet. Bissonnet is a very popular street. It's a long, never-ending street that has a lot of marketplaces, a lot of shops, a lot of eateries in Houston. I love something. I'm not going to talk about those ones now. So we got to the office, and it was the 7th floor. They have their office number in there. And it was a very small office, very unassuming, because I'm used to like crowds, especially when it comes to like doing Nigerian stuff. But we're the only ones there as far as the visitors, right? So we sat down, and we got there like 30 minutes for our appointment. So we got there around like 11:20. I just thought, what the heck, let's just go there and we'll just wait if need be. At least we got here in time, right? Better early than late. That's what I always say. So we got into the room, sat down, and the guy, Mr. OK, by the way, he came and said, "Oh, what are you here for?" I told him, "Oh, we're here for an interview," and he brought out a list, and then and behold, our name was there. So again, guys, you cannot just drop in. You have to make sure you book that appointment. I saw 2 people working while he was attending to us, wanting to do like an impromptu interview, and they wouldn't even accept that, inquiry from them. So you have to make sure you book that appointment. They're very strict about it. Now, so he sat down, then he started asking me to bring out all the documents. He would mention, where's the bank statement? Where's the application form? Guys, that application form, there's a part where you have to sign and date. Make sure you just do that. You can do that right there and then, but, make sure you do that beforehand if you can. And then he asked for the passports, photographs, and said to write the name and sign at the back. And I mean, I keep quite a good record because, again, I followed that list. I printed everything out. I'm like, I just want this to be done very meticulously. So we were there, and then it got to a point he said, oh, you're going to need, again, if you're going with a minor, you need to make sure you're getting, if you're going to be traveling alone and you have a child, make sure you get permission from the spouse, from the other parents, and vice versa, right? Because they really need, not vice versa, sorry, they really need to see that there's consent. So take, for example, if you have an underage, they're going to ask you to do like what they call consent. And that might cost you about $40 per parent. So you're looking at $80. And it's going to be $20 per parent. So that's $40. And that's going to be cash only. So again, don't be surprised by that because that happened. And then there's a processing fee, which I didn't see on their website, $25. They ran my card for that. And I had a little bit of argument about that because I'm like, it's not on your website. They're like, stop arguing with us, madam. You know when Nigerians call you madam, it's about, you're all about to enter one trousers. And I'm like, you know what? I don't even need this drama. It's early in the morning. I came here for this. Let's just get it done. Well, so we're getting that done. And, again, if you're also married, if you're going on a marital basis, make sure that if your spouse's last, because myself and Taiwo, we don't have the same last name, I still use my maiden name. So, for example, there could be issues about, we need to see your marriage certificate to be sure that you guys are married. So, again, if you're going with a spouse whose name you're not bearing, unofficial, like on your passport, for example, make sure you have your marriage certificates ready. And also make sure you bring your own passport. So if you're applying for a minor, for example, make sure you bring your own passports, like the spouse's passport. Like both of you as a couple should bring your passport. So just some things that I observed from other people that came there, right? And then by the time you're done, they will have you address those envelopes. One going to the embassy in Atlanta, ours was Atlanta, right? And then the one's coming back to you. I have gotten I've had to go for an American visa interview. So I've traveled to about 12 countries. I've gone for a US visa interview, Canadian, Jamaican was port of entry. I've gone to the Irish, because I've been to Ireland. I've done Irish, interview. I have done, what are that ones that I can't even remember, because not crossing my mind right now. But I would say the most stressful has been the Irish one. Hands down, Nigeria actually doesn't come close as far as this experience. Irish wanted everything. Oh my goodness. They wanted not just the summary of your bank statement. They wanted everything you were spending money. I'm like, wait, is this like an intervention or a visa interview? And guys, they were emailing me and telling me to respond by mailing them those documentations. How I was able to travel in time to get my visa back still remains a miracle. At the point, I just told myself, I don't want to go to Ireland anymore. They're asking for too much. Canadian was a little bit tedious because, again, Canadian and the UK system, you never know what they want. So you just want to give them everything. Like, here, take my boob size, my pant size, just throw everything at them because sometimes the requirements are quite nebulous. To get your visa, the tips again will be make sure you plan ahead of time. Oh, and then after the appointment, we were told that the visas will get back to us in 10 business days. So we're waiting for that to happen. And yeah. I don't know why they cannot afford to accommodate emergency situations. And another thing is that you make sure you have booked your flight ticket. You have to have had your, flight tickets booked because they kind of want to see that. And if you're traveling with somebody as part of your party, like if you're traveling with a spouse or a child, make sure that it's showing that you're all going together, right? So that's one thing you have to do. So apply in time, right? But overall, I think my experience wasn't really bad. I really was expecting the worst, but it ended up being, okay, it was just the process leading behind it. If there was a lot of information that was ample on the website and not having to scavenge and, waiting for people to call you back or even waiting for somebody to pick up at the other end of the line, I think it will have made for an overall pleasant experience. And I guess also the moving parts like OIS, Innovate, Nigerian Immigration Services. It's just so many things feeding into other things. Can't we just have it on one system? And really, I would just like for our embassies to be more equipped in, dealing with inquiries. So there are a lot of Nigerians in the US, for example, right? I don't know why we have to, for example, travel all the way to Atlanta for a passport renewal. It still doesn't make sense to me. If we're using OIS, and I'm not like advocating for OIS. I'm glad at least they're working in that capacity to at least give us visas. But I'm also putting a plug for passports. Can't we just have an embassy somewhere in the Southwest? Oklahoma, we can go to Texas because it's very close, right? But I don't know why we have to carry ourselves and do that pilgrimage trip to Atlanta or DC or let's even forget about DC. That one, I don't even know what they're doing there. You better close that place down. Maybe New York and New York is still not so bad, but Atlanta is they're very, very notorious right there. So yes, I hope this was quite helpful. I know it's been a lot, but just to recap is. Make sure you apply in time. Make sure you go to the website, read the instructions very well, print out everything, especially the application form, your payment slip. I forgot to mention that. Make sure you do that and read before you hit that submission from your first application form on Innovate that goes to the Nigerian Immigration Service. Make sure you read that form and that the information is very accurate, especially the names, the date of birth, and then your passport numbers. And then make sure on OIS you're registering the right card. And usually if the card matches your name, you don't have to register. You can go ahead and use it. But because we're applying for somebody and their name wasn't my name, I had to register my card. And if you register a card, you can actually have it on the website for 30 days to, so if you have multiple applications, you can use. And remember, if you're married and you're going together, make sure you have your marriage certificate handy. If you're taking a child with you, make sure you have a consent letter from the other parents who might or might not be there. And if both of you are going for that interview on behalf of a minor, make sure you take your marriage certificate along as well as your individual passports, your state issued, passport, perhaps maybe the Nigerian one or the US one. And and get ready for some hidden fees that might come up. I didn't know about that consent fee. I didn't know about the processing fee. And if you're going to have somebody invite you to Nigeria, make sure they furnish you with an invitation letter that talks about, and there are many templates online as to how to get this done. Make sure the signature matches the signature on their passport and that they're inviting you and what they're going to be responsible for as far as, feeding you or boarding you or things like that. Address where you'll be staying. The application letter must also have your name on it as the person who's coming to visit, and make sure it's addressed to the consulate. And I'm gonna share a template as well so you guys can borrow some language. But overall, I hope this was quite helpful. I know this is a little bit of a deviation from what we normally talk about on the show. But again, I see myself as a community convener, and if I've gone through something and I feel like it might benefit those that might be listening, sure, why not, share this information. So, but as always, let me know if you have questions. Don't forget to share this episode. I will link some resources that I use and the steps again. I'll, just check the website or our Instagram page at the More Civil Podcast, TheMoreSibyl podcast, for just things that we've done and regarding this and how we can best support you. Well, if all else fails, just pop a Xanax or two and just go with God. But we hope that, I really do hope you gain one thing or two from this talk, I guess. Well, that wraps up this episode, guys. And I'll catch you guys on another episode of the More Civil Podcast. I remain your host, Lo. Bye for now. Thank you for listening to this episode of the More Civil Podcast. Well, guess what? There's plenty more where that came from. So visit our website at www.mosibyl.com. That is www.morecivil.com, where you can find hours of other binge-worthy episodes just like this one. And while you're at it, please don't forget to subscribe and leave us a rating on Apple Podcast or Podbean, as it encourages other awesome people like you to listen to the podcast as well. We are now officially on Podbean. It has an app. You can catch up on missed episodes and also get a notification when we have new episodes. Do you have a question for our guest, feedback on the episode, or a suggestion for a future guest? Then please get in touch with us by sending us an email at talktomo@mostable.com or connect with us via Instagram at the More Civil Podcast. Cannot wait to hear from you, and thank you so much for always listening.